Sourcing from Turkey is a massive opportunity for European businesses, no doubt about it. But it also comes with real risks. So how can you be sure you're partnering with a top-notch manufacturer and not, a costly mistake? In this explainer, we're going to walk through a professional framework to verify any Turkish supplier, helping you turn that risk into a huge strategic advantage.
Okay, let's break this down. The opportunity side is pretty clear, right? Turkey's right next door to Europe, the pricing is competitive, and they have a really strong manufacturing base. Those are huge wins. But the risks are just as real. We're talking about inconsistent quality, the potential for outright fraud, and brand new EU regulations that, guess what, fall squarely on your shoulders as the importer. Our goal today is to give you the tools to navigate all of this with confidence. So, here's our game plan, our 5-step journey. We'll start with the absolute basics. Is this company even real? Second, we'll check if they're ready for EU standards. Third, and this is a big one, can they actually deliver what they promise? Fourth, are they going to be a good partner in the long run? And finally, we'll pull it all together so you can make a clear, data-driven decision.
First things first, the desktop audit. Seriously, before you even think about products or pricing, you have to answer one simple question. Is this a real, legally registered business? This single step is your first and, frankly, your most important defense against getting scammed.
Okay, you're going to run into a few key Turkish terms here, but don't worry, they're actually pretty straightforward. Think of the VKN as their tax ID and MERSIS as their trade registry number. But the most important one, the one you really want to see, is the Trade Registry Gazette, the Ticaret Sicil Gazetesi. This is the official government record that proves the company exists, who owns it, and what it's legally allowed to do. And this is a simple, actionable process you can do right from your desk. Step 1, just ask for these documents. A legitimate company will not hesitate for a second. Step 2, don't just trust them, verify them. Use the official government websites to cross-check the numbers. And step 3, do a quick sanity check on Google Maps. Is their registered address an actual factory, or is it, someone's apartment?
This initial check will quickly show you some massive red flags. Look, if a supplier refuses to share these basic legal documents, you just walk away. That is an immediate deal breaker. You should also watch for any mismatch between their legal name and their bank account name, an address that points to a residential building, or a poor credit report.
Okay, great. You've confirmed the company is real. Now for the next huge question. Are they actually ready for the European market? This part is all about verifying the certifications and making sure they can comply with key EU regulations.
For any European buyer, these are totally non-negotiable. ISO 9000 proves they have a quality system in place. A CE mark is a legal safety requirement for a ton of products. And rules like REACH and ROHS make sure their materials are compliant. But here is the single most important rule of this section. Never, ever accept a PDF at face value. Always verify the certificate directly with the organization that issued it.
Now this brings us to a huge new topic that's impacting anyone importing goods like steel or aluminum into the EU. You might have heard of it. What exactly is CBAM?
CBAM stands for the Carbon Border Adjustment Mechanism. In simple terms, think of it as a carbon tariff. It means that you, the person importing the goods, are now responsible for reporting and eventually paying for the carbon emissions created when your products were made. For anyone importing from Turkey, this is an absolute game changer.
And here's why this matters directly to your bottom line. If your Turkish supplier can't give you verified emissions data, usually in a document called an Environmental Product Declaration, or EPD, the EU is just going to apply a default value. And guess what? That default value will almost certainly be higher, which means you pay more in carbon taxes. A supplier's lack of preparation here becomes your direct financial problem.
Okay, the paperwork all checks out. But can they actually make your product to the right quality and in the right volume? Now we have to move from the documents to the factory floor and check out their operational reality.
Now what's really interesting is that Turkey has this fantastic tool for this part of the process. It's called the TOBB Capacity Report. This isn't some marketing brochure the company made up. It's a state-validated document that officially lists the supplier's machinery, their number of employees, and their certified annual production capacity. It's objective, third-party proof of just how big their manufacturing scale really is. But documents can only tell you half the story, right? The ultimate reality check is a factory audit, whether you go yourself or arrange one remotely. So when you're on the ground, what should you really be looking for? You're basically looking for the physical signs of a weak system. Is the machinery old and poorly maintained? Are raw materials and finished goods just lying around, unlabeled and disorganized? Can you actually see a dedicated quality control station with the right tools? And never underestimate poor housekeeping. A messy, unsafe factory floor almost always points to deeper management problems. So, you've confirmed they're legitimate, they're compliant, and they're capable. But here's the final piece of the puzzle. Will they be a good partner? This step is all about evaluating those crucial and often overlooked aspects of communication and reliability. Think about it this way. A supplier's communication style before you place an order is the best predictor of how they'll communicate when a problem comes up. Are they responsive? Are their answers clear and direct? Or are they kind of vague? When you ask a technical question, do you get a real data-driven answer or just a sales pitch? You're looking for proactive, transparent communication. That's the hallmark of a professional partner.
You will definitely come across something called the ATR certificate. It's really important to understand what this document is and what it isn't. It simply allows goods to move freely within the EU-Turkey Customs Union. That's it. It does not prove the goods are made in Turkey. For that, you need a totally separate origin document. This is a super common point of confusion, and that distinction is critical.
All right, we've gathered a huge amount of information. We've done our homework. Now it's time for the final step, pulling everything together into a structured, objective, and defensible decision.
The best way to do this is with a simple supplier scorecard, just like the one you see here. First, decide what's most important to you, and give each category a weight. For example, maybe EU compliance is worth 25% of the total score for your project. Then, for each supplier, you just score them from 1 to 5 in every category. The magic of this tool is that it forces you to turn all your notes and observations into a final weighted score. It makes your decision-making process transparent, objective, and super easy to explain to your team.
But a scorecard has one limitation. You also need to have non-negotiables. These are your pass-fail criteria. For example, a supplier failing to provide a valid legal document isn't just a low score. It's an immediate no, an instant disqualification, no matter how good they look everywhere else. This prevents a critical failure in one area from being hidden by high scores in others.
Ultimately, successful international sourcing isn't about taking some huge leap of faith and hoping for the best. It's about building a foundation of facts through a methodical process. Because at the end of the day, trust is something that has to be earned through verification, not just based on assumption.